So now let's briefly talk about the M class CPUs in terms of the architecture and the microarchitecture. So there is something called, well, I just spoke about it, but I'm just wanting to explain that now. So there is something called an architecture and something called a microarchitecture. So an architecture is simply a specification. It is more of a document, uh, a description as to what the CPU should do, not how it does it. And then the microarchitecture is exactly how it does it. Let me give an example of this. So let's say if we were to write an architecture for a bicycle, we would say that it needs to move forward and backwards only. It cannot stand still. If standing still, the state is undefined, it might fall off, not fall off, so on and so forth. And how to move forward, we haven't explained that, how the forces would be transmitted, whether the first wheel would move, previous, like the rear wheel would move. We haven't told any of that. We just say it's a device that, someone can sit on, one person, there's like a mechanism to steer, so on and so forth. So those are just kind of, statements that describes what that entity needs to do. So CPU architecture then explains what the CPU must do, not how it does it. The microarchitecture is exactly how it does it. So then you might have like, some bicycle with, just a single person, the rider, just that. Then there might be a bicycle with like a pillion seat, available. Um, Then you might have some bicycle which have gear mechanism on them. Then you might have some bicycle which has like a side stand. Some might have like a pull back kind of a stand, so on and so forth. The seats might be different. The steering, the handles would be different. The braking mechanism would be different. Do you want to use a chain to transfer the power to the wheel, or do you want to use, I don't know, some sort of a rotary mechanism, whatever. So these choices, the actual choices are made by the designers, and whatever the final outcome of that, the physical outcome of that design is, that's called the microarchitecture. So an architecture is just description, a microarchitecture is the real thing. So now, turns out ARM as a company provides three types of architecture documents, or three types of architectures for the CPU. One is called the A class CPU, the other is called the M class, and the third one is called the R class. So this is for the A class is for the application grade, which is capable of running, let's say, operating system like Linux, Mac OS, and even Windows now. Then essentially this CPU has support that can enable running a higher level operating system like Linux, Mac OS and Windows. And the M class CPU is called the microcontroller class. And you can now guess when we talk about Cortex-M here, the M here is referring to the fact that it's a M class CPU. So it's a microcontroller class of CPU, and the microcontroller class essentially means that it is designed for deeply embedded applications like a watch, maybe like a toaster, oven, temperature control, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, those kind of things. Then there is R-class controller, R-class CPUs, or controllers also, but CPUs. And the R-class CPUs are essentially for real-time applications. And real-time applications would be things like, um, uh, passing a packet in a given time, or with like deterministically transferring a packet by a network router, right? A network switch might have these. Then the car engine might, the control system for car engine might have these, because the firing rate has to be deterministic. Real time doesn't mean like as it's happening now, like in reality, kind of close to, analog. It doesn't mean that. The real time in embedded systems means determinism. It means that things will finish within a bound, the bound, a time boundness. The time bound can be like 1 millisecond, 1 microsecond, 1 second, doesn't matter. As long as the CPU guarantees that a certain task would finish within a certain time, that CPU can be qualified as an real-time CPU, right? And then ARM has specifications or architecture documents for R-class CPUs as well. We are focusing on the M-class CPUs. So now the M-class CPUs themselves, we talk about the microarchitecture and the architecture. So there are three types of architecture, the V6, V7, and V8. So there are these three types of architecture. And then if I'm recalling correctly, the M0, I suppose the M0 plus and the M1. So if you ever Google about the Cortex-M CPUs and get variants like M0, the Cortex-M0, Cortex-M0 plus, Cortex-M1, those are based on the V6 architecture description. And this is like a simpler version of the M-class CPU architecture. These are the M0, M0 plus, and M1 are called the microarchitectures. So the microarchitectures, as we saw in this case, are the real implementation. So for V6 architecture, you have three implementations available. Similarly, for V7, we have the M3, M4, and M7. And then for V8, we have M23, M33, and M55. And the architectures are something that they revise and enhance, and we'll kind of come to how to think about these architectures in a bit. Now, why am I explaining you all of this? So you need to know this so that you can understand the limitations and the features provided by different microarchitectures, and accordingly, you can tune how you work with that, or how you what all you expect out of that CPU, right? And the interesting bit is, for the most part, 99%, these CPUs are kind of similar as seen by the programmer. Again, what does that mean? It means that the programmer's model is more or less similar. It's majority of the registers are same, and so you wouldn't have a difficulty working with any of these microarchitectures, any of these. Fair? So far, so good. Now, what I'm going to do is jump onto ARM's documentation that I have been reading for this course, and it's called ARM Cortex-M for Beginners, and we are going to, uh, on repeat access, or refer to this document. So it goes on to explaining all of what I was telling: the application processor, real time, and the microcontroller class. We are interested in the M class, and this is essentially kind of the system compatibility and different kind of processors, so on and so forth. We were talking about all of these here. Now, I did not specifically mention, but the A class CPU are like power hungry but very beefy, and they can perform um, at a their performance is like way, way, way above the M class, and which kind of makes sense, to run a or to program a or to implement a Bluetooth solution using a microcontroller. The Bluetooth CPU can be a little lousy. You don't need a CPU that's capable of running an operating system. So these are like low power and kind of low performance CPUs, and these are like the high performance and high power CPUs. Anyway, so you can also read this document. It would be cited in the resources. Then these are like the differences, and specifically the differences between different processor family or the microarchitectures are given here, right? I wouldn't go into the details of this, but you should again read up these, this document and a bunch of others. All right, so this is what I wanted to bring your attention to. So The programmer's model is kind of similar across the microarchitecture. The NVIC is same. Features of NVIC might vary. The OS support, and the OS here is not Linux, Mac, or Windows. It's the embedded OS. Right? That's the OS, and ease of use and debug support, so on and so forth. Moving on. Right. So how do these different implementations differ, right, from one another? That is in terms of the instructions and the features they provide. So for example, the ARM v6M architecture provides us with these many instructions. So your C code or assembly code can only have these instructions, while the M7 can have these many. And what's beautiful here is if you wrote a program for the MV6M based CPU, which is, let's say, let's just say M0 plus. Now, if you decided to upgrade, let's say in the next version of your Bluetooth controller, if you decided to upgrade to M4, which is a V7 based, so the code you generated for the previous generation, M0 plus generation, your previous Bluetooth controller, which was M0 plus based, that was only having these instructions. When you upgraded to M4 for whatever reason as the next Bluetooth product, the same firmware for M0 plus can pretty much be reused because V7 architecture, the M4, will support the instructions that were for M0 plus. Right? So that's the idea, that it's forward compatible. The code you write for V6 can work on V7, subject to few conditions which you will actually figure. But the instructions wise, it's all fine. And similarly, if you have code written for M3, for example, M3 only provides these many instructions, and then M4 provides all of these. So essentially, with every architecture version and the implementation, you get more instructions. So the difference between M3 and M4, for example, is M4 provides you with some DSP related instructions, digital signal processing related instructions, but the M3 doesn't. And so that's why you see like this difference. But both of them adhere to the V7 architecture. That's the idea. And then similarly, we go down here, the V8M architecture that kind of gives us even more instructions. And of course, it deals with matrix multiplication, provides features of those nature, so on and so forth. So hopefully then what you're convinced about is the notion of architecture and microarchitecture. And the intention of this video was to convince you the quadrant, or the corner of the various ARM CPUs that we are dealing with. And then within those CPUs, what all variants can you expect? And once you know this, you will trade carefully. You will understand what document to refer, what questions to ask, what to expect out of a CPU, M-class CPU, and what can work and what can fail. So that's kind of the idea. And in the next one, we'll kind of go ahead and dive deeper into the programmer's model.